Have you ever poured your soul into something only to be met with silence? Have you ever felt like a ghost in your own workplace, in your own life? You arrive before the sun comes up. You stay until the lights go out. You double-check every detail. You fix the mistakes others leave behind. And you swallow your pride when someone else takes the credit. It feels like you are screaming underwater. You wonder, does this even matter? Am I just wasting my life in the shadows while the loud and the lucky pass me by? If that heaviness is sitting in your chest right now, if you feel like you are buried under the weight of unappreciated effort, I need you to listen very closely, because you are not buried, you are being planted. There is a law of the universe that is as real as gravity, but it is much harder to see. It is the law of the invisible foundation, and to understand it, to truly understand how it can turn your obscurity into an empire, we have to go back, not to a rice shop, but to the high misty mountains of the ancient East, to the construction site of the Great Imperial Temple. This is the story of a young man named Ren, and how he went from mixing mud in the rain to becoming the master of the mountain. And it begins not with a stroke of luck, but with a decision made in the dark. The Great Imperial Temple was the most ambitious project of the century. It was overseen by Grand Master Shen, an architect so legendary it was said he could hear the voice of the stone. To work under Shen was the highest honor, and hundreds of young men flocked to the mountain to apply. But Ren was not a skilled mason. He wasn't a talented carver. He was a peasant with rough hands and no family name. Master Shen hired him, but not to touch the white marble. He hired Ren for the mud pit. The mud pit was exactly what it sounded like. It was a ditch behind the main site where the mortar was mixed. It was cold, it smelled of wet lime and rot, and it was invisible to the public. While the other apprentices stood on high scaffolding, carving intricate dragons and phoenixes where the crowds could see them, Ren was knee-deep in gray sludge, mixing the paste that would hold the stones together. For 2 years this was his life. His fellow workers mocked him. One in particular, a talented carver named B.O., would lean over the scaffolding and shout, "Hey, Ren, make sure that mud is smooth. I don't want my masterpiece sitting on lumps." The others would laugh. They saw Ren as a beast of burden, a tool. Ren could have become bitter. In fact, most people in the mud pit quit within 3 months. They claimed the work was beneath them. They said, "I am an artist, not a mixer." But Ren viewed the pit differently. Ren realized something the others missed. He realized that the stone was only as strong as the mortar that bound it. If the mix was too watery, the stone would slip. If it was too dry, it would crack in the winter frost. The safety of the entire temple, the lives of thousands of future worshippers, relied not on the beautiful dragon carvings, but on the invisible gray paste in the cracks. So Ren decided to become a master of mud. He began to experiment. He arrived 2 hours early to sift the sand through silk screens, removing even the tiniest pebbles that could create an air pocket. He walked miles to a specific river bend where the clay was finer. He learned to read the humidity in the air. On dry days, he added a cup more water. On wet days, a cup less. He treated the gray sludge as if it were liquid gold. One afternoon, a terrible storm rolled into the mountains. The winds howled, and the rain turned the site into a river. All the workers, the carvers, and the supervisors ran for the shelter of the barracks. They huddled around fires, complaining about the delay. But Master Shen, the old architect, put on his cloak and walked out into the storm. He wanted to check the protective tarps. As he walked past the mud pit, he stopped. There, in the pouring rain, was Wren. He wasn't running. He was frantically covering the piles of sifted sand with his own blankets. He was using his body to shield the day's mix from the torrent. He was shivering, soaked to the bone, protecting a pile of mud. Master Shen watched from the shadows for a long time. He didn't say a word. He simply turned and walked away. The next morning the storm had passed. The site manager was screaming at the apprentices because the raw materials were ruined by the rain except for Wren's station. His materials were dry. His mix was perfect. Work could begin immediately. Master Shen approached the pit. The site went silent. He looked at Wren, who was covered in dried gray dust. "Wren," the master said softly, "why did you stay out in the storm to save the mud? It is cheap. We could have bought more." Wren bowed low. "Master, the mud is cheap, but the time is not. If the mud is wet, the masons cannot work today. If they cannot work, the temple is delayed. If the temple is delayed, the emperor is dishonored. I could not let my small task stop the great work." Master Shen nodded slowly. "Leave the pit. Today you carry stone." This was a promotion, but the lowest kind. Now Wren was a carrier. He had to haul heavy blocks of granite up the ramps to the masons. It was back-breaking work. His shoulders bled. His legs shook. Again the talented carver B.O. laughed. "Look, the mud rat is now a mule. Careful you don't drop my art, mule." But Wren applied the same philosophy. He didn't just carry, he observed. He noticed that when he placed a stone with the grain facing up, the mason could cut it 10% faster. He noticed that if he organized the stones by size before the masons arrived, they didn't have to stop and search. He started doing the pre-work for the people above him. He made everyone around him look better. The masons started working faster. The walls rose quicker. They didn't know why, they just knew that when Wren was their carrier, the work flowed like water. 5 years passed. Wren moved from carrier to cutter, from cutter to carver, and finally to junior architect. He remained quiet, humble, and obsessed with the invisible side of the work. Then came the day of the Great Inspection. The emperor himself was coming to dedicate the temple. It was finished. It was a masterpiece of white marble and gold leaf. Master Shen was now very old and frail, so he leaned on Wren as they waited for the royal procession. But as the emperor's carriage arrived, a catastrophic sound echoed through the plaza. Crack! A massive fissure appeared on the main ceremonial archway. The ground had shifted slightly, a minor earthquake common in the mountains, but the archway, the entrance for the emperor, had split. Panic erupted. The emperor's guards drew their swords. The site managers were screaming, "It's ruined. The foundation has failed." B.O., who was now a senior foreman, looked at the crack and threw up his hands. "We have to tear it down. It will take months to rebuild. We are doomed." The emperor stepped out of his carriage, his face dark with rage. "Who is responsible for this failure?" he demanded. Master Shen stepped forward, but Wren gently held him back. Wren stepped out to the center of the plaza. He walked the archway. He ran his hand over the crack. He didn't look at the panic. He looked at the structure. "Your Highness," Wren said calmly, "we do not need to tear it down. The stone is broken." B.O. shouted, "Look at it." "The facing stone is broken," Wren said, his voice steady. "But the core is sound. Ren picked up a sledgehammer. The crowd gasped. He swung it with all his might, smashing into the beautiful gold-leafed marble of the arch. The outer layer shattered and fell away. Beneath the fancy white marble was a dark, gray, ugly-looking inner pillar. It was made of rough stone and that specific gray mortar. "I mixed this mortar myself 7 years ago," Ren said, "and I laid these core stones 3 years ago. I know what is inside." The outer stone cracked because it was too rigid for the shifting ground, but the inner core, it was built to flex. It has not moved a millimeter. Ren took a chisel and quickly smoothed the rough core. It wasn't pretty, but it was unbreakable. He turned to the Emperor. "The decoration has failed, Your Highness, but the foundation stands. The temple is safe." The Emperor walked up to the gray pillar. He touched the mortar that Ren had sifted through silk screens, the mortar he had protected with his own body in the storm. It was solid as iron. The Emperor turned to Master Shen. "You have built a temple that survives even when the beauty breaks. This is true mastery." Master Shen smiled and placed a hand on Ren's shoulder. "I did not build this part, Your Highness. This man did. He is the only one who cared about what could not be seen." That evening, Master Shen retired. He did not hand the keys of the guild to Bio, the talented artist. He handed them to Ren. When Bio protested, saying, "But Master, I have carved the most beautiful dragons," Ren only knows mud and rough stone. Master Shen replied with words that have echoed through the centuries. "Bio, you build for the eye. Ren builds for the ages. You crave attention. He craves stability. A kingdom can survive without beauty, but it cannot survive without a foundation." From this day on, Ren is the master builder. Ren went on to build 12 more temples, some of which still stand today, thousands of years later. Not because the carvings were pretty, but because the invisible mortar never failed. My friend, why am I telling you this story today? Because we live in a world that is obsessed with the facing stone. We live in a culture of highlight reels, viral moments, and instant credit. We are told that if we aren't seen, we don't exist. If we aren't praised, we aren't winning. And because of this lie, you feel invisible. You feel like you're in the mud pit. But I want you to change your perspective. You are not invisible. You are foundational. There is a massive difference between being unseen and being inconsequential. The roots of a giant oak tree are unseen. The engine of a race car is unseen. The foundation of a skyscraper is unseen. But cut them away, and the whole thing dies. What you are doing right now, those early mornings, those late nights, that extra rep in the gym, that extra hour of study, that diaper you change at 3 a.m., that report you file perfectly, even though your boss won't read it, that is your mortar. You are building the core of your character. When you do the right thing, when no one is watching, you are mixing the mortar a little stronger. When you keep your word even when it costs you money, you are laying a stone that will not crack. When you help others succeed without needing to take the credit, you are weatherproofing your soul. Life is going to send storms. Just like that earthquake in the story, eventually, the pretty parts of your life might crack. You might lose the job. You might lose the money. The applause will stop. The likes will fade. And when that happens, when the outer layer falls away, what will be left? If you have spent your life only chasing the applause, you will crumble. But if you have spent your time in the mud pit, building a core of excellence, integrity, and grit, you will stand. Master Shen was watching Ren for years before he promoted him. And let me tell you, the world is watching you too. Your children are watching how you handle stress. Your team is watching how you handle failure. The universe is watching how you handle the small things. You might think you are waiting for your big break. You might think, once I get that promotion, then I'll show up. Once I get that $1 million, then I'll be generous. No, you have it backward. You don't build the foundation after the house is up, you build it now. In the dirt, in the dark, in the rain. So here is your challenge for this week. Identify one area of your life where you feel invisible. Maybe it's your role at work. Maybe it's your role as a parent. Maybe it's your side hustle. Polish the back of the drawer. Sift the sand. Protect the work. Because one day the emperor opportunity will arrive. The ground will shake. The fakers and the shortcuts will crack and fall away. And when the dust settles, you will be the only one left standing. Success is not a lottery ticket. It is a construction project. And you, my friend, are the architect. So pick up your shovel, embrace the invisible work, and build something that can never be torn down.